Hey everybody. There's no way to get good color balance here. At the Capitol again, Andy Moore. Let's fix this. Day 17 of Budget Watch 2017, and out here in front of the park, in front of the Capitol, way too windy to even try to stand outside for sure. Yesterday was kind of a big day. End of the day, nothing really happened. I mean, stuff happened, but no revenue was passed. So I think we're up to a bunch of little things have got us to about 69 million or so in revenue that have been passed and signed. So still a long way from that 878 million that we need just to kind of keep it even. Yesterday was the big bill. I think some journalists were calling it hashtag big budget bill. It was proposed yesterday afternoon in a press conference with the Governor Fallon, Speaker McCall, Senate Pro Tem Schultz, Senate Appropriations Chair Kim David spoke. I happened to be free and kind of stood around outside. It was in the Blue Room. It was packed. Had to listen from the hallway. They talked about the bill. They didn't give any specific numbers, which I thought was a little strange. There was no actual amounts really discussed. But here's what we're going to do. And it contained cigarette tax, a fuel tax, a change to the gross production tax, kind of an increase, a tiny bit. Right now, the way that the gross production tax is set up is it's 2% on all wells for the first 36 months, so the first 3 years. And after that, it goes to 7%. This is for horizontal wells. And what this changed was it kept everything the same, except for it shortened it from 36 months to 18 months. The problem is that and I think it only bumped it to 5% after that. But anyway, after 18 months, that doesn't give us any new revenue for this year. So for the rest of this coming year, has no impact at all. And in fact, once the bill came out, it said fiscal impact 0. And that's concerning because we need money now. And so it didn't help with anything. It helps a little bit in the long term, but there was a lot of debate. Senator Kim David said that it was unconstitutional to enact a tax increase on existing wells. But from every report that I've seen from journalists, from attorneys, even from folks within the Republican Party, certainly the Democrats as well, and other kind of analysts, that's not the case. It is constitutional. This legislature can raise taxes at any time on any person or well or item that they want to. The cigarette tax would be effective immediately on all cigarettes, not just on cigarettes that are manufactured after today or after the date. If they increase the personal income tax, it would be effective immediately. You wouldn't be grandfathered in. And so to say that the GPT increase is not constitutional, that's not the case. I'm certain that the industry would say, well, we drilled these thinking it was going to be 2%. I'm like, well, you do lots of things. You enroll in school thinking that it's going to be a certain rate for your student loan, and then the next year maybe it goes up. Tuition goes up. Things change. That's sadly the deal about money, right? And taxes. So that was kind of bogus. Also, the Democrats were there. They were kind of standing in the back, and kind of not all of them, but there was a big chunk of them from the House Dems that were there. And Scott Inman gave a press conference right afterwards, as you would probably expect, and kind of refuted all the points. And so that was interesting. The whole thing was there was a lot of folks there, a lot of people in suits. I don't know who they all are. I always have my big red button on, so at least people know who I'm with. But it was interesting just to kind of see all the folks there, and to kind of hear scuttlebutt conversations in the hallway and afterwards between little groups of people, and what they thought was good or bad about it, and about both sides. So anyway, House voted to suspend the rules. It went through JCAB, and they voted to suspend the rules so it could be heard immediately last night, right after JCAB, rather than waiting until today. And so it went up for a vote, questions, debate, both sides, all the usual hoopla. I think they debated 30 minutes or so on each side, Eventually, the vote was cast, and it went down pretty evenly. I think like 56 to 44. There was a bunch of Republicans that voted no. All the Democrats did. Pretty impassioned speeches from a number of folks, as usual. Colin Walkie got fired up. John Bennett got fired up. Lots of folks. Representative Osborne gave a pretty level-headed, and what I heard from kind of the audience afterwards was a lot of folks, both in person and folks that watched online that I talked to later today, were kind of surprised or impressed by some of her rhetoric during her speech. I think by all sides, this was not a super enticing deal, and it went down anyway. So now it's theoretically eligible to go to a vote of the people at the next general election, which would be next 2018, November. But it would have to pass the Senate first. And from what I understand, it's not expected to happen because when you send things to vote of the people, it's harder to kind of anticipate what the outcome is going to be, and that I guess the Senate wouldn't want that. So the Senate might not even hear it. It might just kind of disappear. Supposedly this morning, the governor was meeting with Speaker McCall, Senator Schultz, Leader Inman, and Senator Sparks. So the heads of both parties in both chambers and the governor supposedly were supposed to meet this morning to hash out some idea. I don't know if they actually did or what's come out of that. The House will go into session here in about 5 or 10 minutes at 1:30, and I expect to find out more. Kind of thankfully, aside from my lunch break today, I've been a little busy and haven't been able to stay super tuned in for a much-needed break. Although I did see that the Senate passed to allow liquor sales on Sunday, and I'll be honest, after this week, I think we can all appreciate that. Because who doesn't need an extra drink this weekend after this madness, especially if we're going to go into a special session next week. So I just talked to a couple of former legislators right before I started the video, and they kind of expected this to happen too. That the special session will be called. The governor might do it today. It might start Monday. It could start tomorrow. It can be a concurrent thing, so we'll see what happens with that. If she calls it a concurrent special session, it would allow the legislature to still hear and pass revenue bills next week when normally they can't. And that's kind of a best case scenario at this point, aside from something passing today, because that would allow them to keep negotiating and maybe come up with a plan that's more palatable to both sides and pass. The governor could sign it, and it doesn't cost us any extra money because it's concurrent. They're already here anyway. So if it would get out before next week, that'd be great. There's still a big contingent that's still pushing for an increase of gross production tax to 7%, which is what it was, and that's kind of the regional rate. We pay a way lower rate than other states. And I know tomorrow, Thursday, there's going to be a group up here, several groups, Let's Fix This, Together Oklahoma, a number of other groups, Voice and Action from Oklahoma City and Tulsa, and a bunch of other groups of just kind of citizen activist groups are trying to get folks to come up here. We've been saying we need to save our state, life vests, and so kind of the committee decided to go with a Titanic theme, because this building behind me has kind of been sinking, right? Like our state, our budget, we're drowning. This big budget hole from the iceberg we ran into, and the iceberg was the wrong cuts at the wrong time, way too deep, the wrong things, and they just kept digging. So it would be the equivalent of once the Titanic hit the iceberg, if they thought the way to fix this is just to run into it with the other side of the boat. That way there's holes on both sides, maybe it'll balance out. Obviously that's ridiculous. We should really stop running into icebergs. Well, let's not hit icebergs, guys. Like, let's freaking get out and patch the boat. We've got the tools, we've got the equipment, we have the power, we can do it. So if you want to be involved, come up here. A point of personal privilege, I will admit that the last couple of days my optimism is starting to fade. For those of you that know me, I'm kind of a eternal optimist, but it occurred to me last night that there's a very real chance that we might not fill the budget hole. If we don't do anything, it's a across the board 15% budget cuts to pretty much every state agency. We all know how devastating that would be. That'd be super tragic. And so what we're really hoping is, that we just get close. My personal prediction, based on staring at the wall for a while and thinking about it, is that we will get several $100 million in revenue, but not the 878. Like they might come up with 600 million, and that would arguably be half what we need. We need more than 878. We need like 1.2, 1.3 billion, because 878 is what we know we're missing. Plus, there's like the 10 million that the House messed up with the lottery money that we got to pay back. Plus, there's the rainy day fund we have to pay back first so we got to pay back savings first. We got to pay back this stuff we shouldn't have stolen from mom's sock drawer and next, and then there's the actual budget that we've got to still hit. Plus, we got to account for the time value of money. So like, money is worth less over time. We've cut everything a whole bunch in the last 10 years, and so we're kind of moving down the road here. And we've got more people in the state. We've got more kids in school. We keep cutting education budgets, and there's 50,000 more students with less money. How's that work out? So we really need closer to like 1.2, 1.3 billion, and that would allow us to pay for everything we have to pay for, maybe even sneak in a teacher raise, and like invest in Oklahoma, like plan for the future. What are you going to do 2 years from now, 3 years from now? Would love to hear a plan of someone that's got like a Oklahoma 2030 or 2050. Like, let's think ahead to where we want this state to be and what we want to pay for. We're going to have to fix more roads. We're going to have to do more stuff here. We've got to plan ahead. Someone's got to have a stinking vision for what this looks like. If you're going to think about your life in the next 10 years, what do you want to do? You want to get married? You want to buy a house? You want to buy a car? You want to have kids? You want to go on vacation? You want to do some things? Well, then you got to have a plan, right? Like, someone's got to sit around and put pen to paper and figure this out, how much it's going to cost, make some educated, informed estimates, and then make a plan of action to get there. That's what our state's lacking. Every year we're like looking backwards going, oh snap, we ran out of money last year and we don't have enough for next year, so let's just keep it where it's at and we can get through. And that's not going to get us anywhere. Like, we've got to not just like fill the hole, tap it down, put a little extra on there because it's going to settle, and then like there's a chance to move ahead. So I'm mixing analogies. I got to wind down. So I'm not trying to be pessimist, but I do want folks to understand that, like, be prepared for the fact that we might only get 600 million, and that might mean a 5%, 7% cut to state agencies. School districts are already cutting. There's a bunch of stories I saw online today. Woodward's cutting. I think Enid's cutting. Districts are cutting like $1 million, $2 million from their budget for next year because they don't know how much money they're going to get. Don't forget that they were supposed to pass a budget for education on April 1st. It's May 17th. It's a month and a half, no budget. So these schools are trying to plan. They've got to tell teachers if they've got a job next year or not. Teachers got to know if they're going to move to Texas or not. Like, people got some plans to do. And if we're the last one to set plans, just like Christmas, when you're trying to hang out with your family, if you're the last one to make plans, you don't get to come. So, Valerie Morgan says, does Dave Ramsey teach a financial peace class? Well, for state governments, no. I mean, they don't operate on a cash basis, first of all. And we don't want the government sitting around with a bunch of cash on hand. We would like them to maybe plan ahead a little bit and be able to make some plans for the future. Fortunately, our state does not operate with huge amounts of debt like some states or countries, but we'd still like to have a big change. So what we really want to see is some recurring, like, sustainable revenue that is broad-based and affects lots of folks equally, right? This has been the tenet of almost every budget plan put out there. The Save Our State plan that we're signed on with, the Democrats' Restore Oklahoma plan, even a lot of the Republican plans, like, what's his name? Gary Jones, state auditor's got a plan, a 555 plan or something. I haven't looked much into it, but I know he wants to see the gross production tax increase to 5% as well. That's one of the fives. So, like, there's a lot of stuff that almost everyone's in agreement with, and I think it just matters on how it's packaged up, right? Like, we all like all the ingredients. You just got to put it in the right order. So, and otherwise you end up with some kind of weird weird dish. And what we really want is a delicious dish. So those of you out there that cook much or bake, and here I don't bake, but I know with a cake you got to do like wet ingredients and dry ingredients, otherwise things get messy. And I think what they've been doing now is putting the ingredients in the wrong dish when they're mixing it up, and we just got to figure out. They've got to figure out which way it goes, the right way or the wrong way. And if they can put it right, we could get a delicious cake out of this, and we could get Oklahoma to the next year, not just kicking the can down the road. So the House is going in session probably right now. They're probably gonna have a quorum call going on, and I think I'm optimistic a little bit still. It's hard to kill that in me, but I feel like there's still a chance. If you haven't been involved, like, it's not too late. Like, seriously, do everything you can. So call your rep, call your senator today. Call Speaker McCall's office, call Senator Schultz's office. I know they're getting phone calls because I hear from lots of folks that their assistants sounded a little terse on the phone. Please be nice, be respectful, but tell them, like, this is important, and keep putting the pressure on your folks. This weekend, find out if they're going to be anywhere in the community, in your district. Invite them. Have a cookout this weekend. Invite your rep, your senator, to come hang out with you and talk to them in person. That'd be great. If they will, it'd be great if they'd show up, and it'd be great if you talk to them. Write letters. Come up here tomorrow. There's going to be a bunch of people up here during the day. I might try to come at lunchtime if I can get away. Ooh, nope, can't make it at lunchtime. I got a meeting, so I may miss it. But there will be lots of people up here. So look for the red pins and the green pins. Some of the green ones are also white. Maybe look for folks dressed like they're on the Titanic. And there's events on Facebook that we are co-host on, so check out the details there. I'll put them on our website later today or tonight, and find out. If you're not already on our mailing list, go to letsfixthisok.org, sign up on our mailing list, try to get some information out. Also, on a happy note, we'll end on this positive note. It has nothing to do with session whatsoever. It is looking ahead to a happier time. June 29th, it's a Thursday night. Mark your calendars or connect on Facebook and say you're going. June 29th, we're going to have a West Wing watch party at the Wheeler Ferris wheel here in Oklahoma City. We're going to watch the Big Block of Cheese Day episode, the first one. Everyone, because it's all about citizen engagement. So we're going to watch the episode. If you've never seen The West Wing, it's on Netflix if you watch on there, or borrow it from a friend. It's a fantastic series, and arguably it is the optimistic view of what government could be, and what it could look like for all of us. So we really encourage you to show up. There'll probably be some food trucks, maybe a beer truck, for you to purchase food and beverage from. And we're going to have some folks, former White House staffers. I know Senator David Holt has said that he plans to be there. Have a little panel discussion so we can watch the episode about life in the White House, and then have some folks talk to us and tell us what life in the White House was actually like. Because certainly it was not, it's not the way it was portrayed by Aaron Sorkin. However, great episode, great show. And we're super excited. I know many of you, Ava, I see you watching. I know you're a West Wing junkie, just like I am. Are really excited about this. And besides, who doesn't love watching movies and TV outside, right? Always great. So, June 29th for that. All right, guys, if I have any big updates, check us out on Twitter and Facebook, and we'll post more later. Otherwise, we'll talk to you tomorrow. Thanks. Bye.